What's up, guys? Welcome to Child Support School. Class is in session. Today I'm going to make a quick video about a story that recently came across my desk. I'm not using any names or any identifying information on these folks, but it is a mom who fled the United States with this guy's child, went to a foreign country, put him on child support. What happened to him? What were the facts? But most importantly, once I get through that, I'm going to tell you what I think this guy should have done to protect himself and get a better result here, not destroying his financial future. Okay, before I get started, nothing in this video is legal advice. Okay, I'm an attorney, but I'm not your attorney. Okay, if you need an attorney, you want an attorney, you got to talk to one in your specific jurisdiction. Okay, who's licensed to practice law and who understands how this stuff works in your area. All right, this is for informational purposes only. Finally, if you are on child support or going through the child support system right now, or have before, then hit that thumbs up icon to let everybody know. And that'll also bring more of this content your way. That'll bring a lot of value to your situation. And don't forget, subscribe to this channel. Okay, putting out videos like not just like this, but even more in depth than this all the time. So definitely subscribe. All right, now onto the video. So this guy, all right, was in a relationship with a mom. They had a kid together, and they broke up. Common story, right? She, after the breakup, took the child and moved to another country, like another country where, all halfway across the world, okay, like deep Europe or somewhere over there. And she got over there. She didn't have any money. She didn't have a job. So she applied for state assistance over there in that foreign country. All right. And I'm sure she got the equivalent to food stamps and Medicaid like we have here in the United States. Very much, I was shocked how similar, and I read the court orders from the other country and everything. I was very shocked to see how much like our child support system, like our Title 4D system, this other country was. It was crazy because they had this administrative child support hearing where she went in. This guy was not served by a process server, which I think that's the first constitutional issue there. He wasn't served by a process server. So they just sent a letter to his mom's house, right? Regular mail, nondescript kind of envelope, could easily mistake it for junk mail. And he didn't see it in time. It was a notice of hearing in another country. And so he would have had to, within 2 weeks, make arrangements to travel to this other country. I don't even think he had his passport in place to be able to do this. So he missed the hearing and got this order like a month or two later that basically said, hey, look, this lady showed up. She said that he was the father. She testified that she didn't have sex with anyone else during the pregnancy period. And so we find he didn't show up. So we find that he's the father, right? And so this distant country makes this finding that he's the father. Now, fast forward about 3 years, the Department of Revenue for the state that he lives in starts blowing him up and sending him letters and things saying, hey, look, we're going to establish this child support case against you. We're going to order you to pay child support. We're going to order it backdated 2 years before the date we're filing this petition. I mean, the whole 9 yards. We're going to go after you to pay for this child's health insurance, and we're going to make you get life insurance to secure payment of child support in case you die before the child reaches 18. I mean, like everything. We're going to hit you with court costs, right? Everything that they can throw at this guy, they just boom, hit him with it suddenly. He didn't really have much time to respond to that correspondence, and then a process server comes knocking on his door, serving him with a court case. Now, the Department of Revenue in this particular state where this guy was living, the Department of Revenue does have, they have been granted a section of the family court division where these child support hearing officers they're not, the child support hearing officers are not affiliated with the state's Department of Revenue, but when you're sitting in their courtroom, it really feels like they are, okay? I think that's probably the best way I can describe it now. I'd have to make a whole separate video kind of breaking that dynamic down. But anyways, He's not going in front of a regular division judge, right, where like a divorce or a custody case would happen. He's going to a child support hearing officer who just all day long just sits and hears these Department of Revenue child support cases just all day long. And so, they're desensitized. They're not trying to hear anyone. It's been described as a kangaroo court by some. When I go in and represent clients in there, it's totally different. But I think if you go without a lawyer, it's just like it's a shit show. So it just is what it is. That's the process. But anyway, so now they're going after him for child support. He gets served. They serve him with this discovery demand. He's got to fill out a financial affidavit. He's got to turn over pay stubs and tax returns and all this other crap. And he doesn't do it. He didn't turn over any of the documents, so they filed a motion to compel against him. And he didn't show up to that hearing, so they got their motion to compel granted. That's when you have late discovery. And so next they filed a motion for contempt against him because he didn't comply with the motion to compel. He still didn't turn over his discovery documents, his financial documents. And so now he's in a position where he could get stuck not being able to go after mom for any discovery, because where in the state where he is, if I don't turn over my discovery and I go all the way to a contempt and I'm found in contempt for that, I'm not in a position to go after the other parent for discovery and start demanding discovery from her, because I'm out of compliance with the rule, right? I'm the one holding the case up. So here's what I think this guy needs to do. He really wants, this particular guy wants to establish court-ordered visitation with this kid, but in order to do that, because the kid's been out of state for years, he's going to have to travel to this other country, or at least hire a lawyer in this other country, and then he's stuck using their custody process, right? Which I don't even know. I don't trust it. I mean, I barely trust the one we have here. It works. It's not perfect. I mean, it gets us by, but I mean, there definitely could be some major changes, obviously. But other countries, it's just got to be worse than it is here. It just has to be 9 times out of 10. Anyway, so he's got to go over there if he wants to establish custody. But he's got to defend himself here against child support, because he's going to get raked over the coals if he doesn't do something here. So what I would tell him to do, if I were representing him, which if I would tell him, he'd have to immediately. Now remember, at this point, the Department of Revenue has filed a circuit court case against him. Okay, a process server has served him, and this is a case moving forward in the circuit court. I know some people watching are going to say, "Hey, no, if he turns over his discovery, if he cooperates with the case, then he's consenting to the contract." Well, the problem is, the contract in this case was based on my knee-jerk reaction. My gut tells me that contract was in this other country, right? And he essentially consented to it by not appealing it, not showing up and at that initial administrative hearing, not showing up, not contesting it, not demanding the contract, and withholding his consent at that time, right? Now, everything I just said there about the contract and consent, I'm still kind of, those are all things that have been brought up in a lot of the comments, a lot of the discussions on this channel. I'm still digging into that. I'm still looking into that. And as soon as I can verify different strategies related to that, I'm definitely going to make some videos on this channel about that. But for now, it's a circuit court case. So even if he doesn't cooperate at all, they can just bulldoze him, railroad him, move forward without him. So what he's got to do is, in my opinion, he's got to comply with discovery. Okay, the discovery demand that they served him with, he's got to turn all that stuff in immediately, because he's got a hearing coming up in like 3 weeks on a motion for contempt. So he turns over his discovery as fast as he can, and then hits the mom with some significant discovery demands of his own, right? And she's all the way in another country. But he's got to make sure that she's saying she's saying she makes less than minimum wage. She's saying she got all these expenses. He's got to hit her up to prove all of that, to send pay stubs, send a tax return, send bank statements, right? Send proof if you're claiming you're paying daycare costs. Send proof of that, okay? And the thing is she's in another country. It's going to take her forever to do that, if she even ever gets the memo to do that. Okay, communication between a state Department of Revenue and another country is going to be really slow 9 times out of 10. If it's between 2 states, if it's between Texas and California, it's going to take months it's probably going to take a month or 2 for the mom to even get the memo that there's a discovery demand that's been filed, right? And so, when you file one of those, it's got a 30-day due date. And half the time, mom doesn't even turn over the documents that she's requested to turn over. She just doesn't take it seriously, or doesn't think she needs to, or doesn't understand what it is, because there's no one at the state who's going to explain it to her. They're just too busy and underfunded. So he's got to get that discovery demand filed against her. When she doesn't turn it over within 30 days, because she's in another country, she's not. It's just not going to happen. I've never seen it happen within the deadline. Even when it's from one state to another. Now we're talking about one country, like on the other side of the planet. She's not gonna file it on time. So then he can file his own motion to compel her late discovery, set that for a hearing, get an order compelling her discovery, and then when she doesn't comply with that order, file a motion for contempt. And in that motion for contempt, he needs to say that by her refusal to provide financial discovery, she has made it impossible for him to formulate a defense to this action, and is violating his constitutional right to due process. Therefore, she needs to be found in contempt. Her pleadings need to be stricken. That means dismissed. Her case needs to be dismissed, and she needs to be ordered to reimburse some attorney's fees if he goes in with an attorney. And my belief is that based on the rules, based on his constitutional right to due process, based on a lot of different things, the procedures in most jurisdictions that I'm aware of, that hearing officer, that magistrate, or that judge should at that point make a finding that she's in contempt and strike her pleadings. And and honestly, it would probably take the court or the state 2 years. It took 2 or 3 years for them to get this case filed against him. It'd probably take another 2 or 3 for them to file again, if mom even gets documents together and resubmits it, right? So he can potentially dodge a bullet, but if he doesn't turn over that discovery, if he just lets them find him in contempt, man, they're just gonna, in their motion for contempt, they've said, hey, he hasn't complied with any of his stuff. So he hasn't given us any financial documents, so we're therefore going to be forced to assume that his income is this particular number, right? But most of the time, that number is higher than what dad's actually making, right? Now, in this situation, if the number that they wanted to assume for him was a lot lower than what he's actually making, then okay, maybe go with that, right? Because child support will be lower the lower your income is. But most of the time, that's not the case. What I see most of the time is the Department of Revenue will overshoot what dad makes when they're assuming an income, not undershoot it. All right, guys, that's all I got for this one. I appreciate y'all hanging through the end. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up icon. Subscribe to this channel if you want more videos like this. Don't forget, this is not legal advice. I'm not your attorney, but if you need an attorney, you got to talk to one in your specific jurisdiction, and make sure they know the difference between a circuit court child support case, like in a divorce or a custody case, versus child support through DOR or Title 4D or administrative. Okay, big difference. Not every lawyer gets it, so just make sure you ask the right questions. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one.